What's going on, family? What's going on? What's going down? What's shaking? Welcome to another episode of Super Black Comic Book Reviews by Johnathan Soul. Now, I have I'm going to say an oldie but goodie. Now, I've talked about this book in particular before, okay? This is Blackout. It was a collaborative effort by, Roosevelt Pitt Jr., the Zong brothers. They were like the inkers and colorists. You had Noble Ward, who was one of the writers, and then you had Vince White, who was like the publisher, and I believe he contributed to the story as well. So this was like a crossover event that had Brother Man, who was like and his sidekick, whose name it's a very common black African American woman name. I can't remember, but anyway, so they kind of are time travelers, and they kind of it's almost like a Doctor Who and a Malcolm X kind of vibration. And then they paired up with Purge, which is kind of in this recent iteration. It's kind of like I'm going to say, you ever heard of Alpha Flight, the Canadian like Avengers group? Well, there's a guy in there called the Guardian, and this is just my assessment. He's kind of like Guardian. In other words, a simple, not simple, but like a suit that has powers, except he has powers too because he's been augmented by nefarious groups when he was young. All right, so we talked about this. It's one of my favorite books to read. It's layers to the story. I mean, there's things in here that if you're not really deep into African American history, it'll go straight over your head, straight over your head. The art is beautiful. The colors are wonderful. It's the kind of, I love the way brother introduced himself, which is good. And basically what's happening in this particular book is that African people are disappearing out the timeline. And so that's what's going on here. So they're trying to investigate and get to the bottom of why this is going on, kind of a thing. All right, so that's this book, okay? Very good book. I would buy it for kids and adults. Very good. I buy this off of indieplanet.com. I don't know if it's still there, but Indie Planet. Another thing, when I tell you about books, buy them quick, because things happen in life, and because there are individuals producing this and not institutions, a tragedy in life can throw your whole production schedule off. It might be 6 months, it might be a year, you just never know. So this is book one of a trilogy. I'm waiting for the other two. We'll see what happens. But this is really the book that I want to hip y'all to. This and this site right here. Amara Entertainment. This is a Roosevelt Pitt site, the writer, the creator. And he's put all this stuff up there. All right, so I got these. It's like a small one shot. It was an introduction. It used to be just digital of a Purge adventure. Just a few pages. And then, of course, we got Purge 1. This is the recent Purge 1 kind of a thing. Beautiful book. You have some panels with Mashindo Kumba. And if you've ever listened to any of my broadcasts, anything about, black comics today, the name of Mashindo Kumba. He's actually been on the podcast a couple of times. And other tremendous artists have contributed to this great story, origin story. Basically, he's kind of like one of the city fathers in New Salem, which is like a high-tech city in Durham, in North Carolina. And he's talking to different officials. It's just like, if there was no words, this is the book you need to have. It's just a very beautiful book to have in your collection. Just a very beautiful book. Period. When I read this book, I got the same feeling as a lot of people had watching Marvel's Black Panther in the theater. That's the kind of feeling I got reading this book. All right. So, but here's the thing I said earlier about this iteration of Purge, because this book has 3 other issues from the 90s. And if you've heard my my podcast, I think it's called What Happened in the 90s, something like that. I'll put the title in here. You can go on my website, or you can go to iTunes or SoundCloud and find it. This is where I interviewed Roosevelt Pitt and Daoud Anabwile, who created Brother Man. In the 90s, these guys were selling hundreds of thousands of books. There was I guess you would call it like a kind of a black arts renaissance during that period, similar to what happened in the 60s. And so this book came out. It sold like 1 million copies, as I recall. Now this book, when I say this book, I mean these books. Let me show you. This is a compilation of a new story and then some old stories from the 90s. So this story is a new one, and it has a collaboration in it too, which is kind of cool. And then these 3 books, these are from the 90s. So it's really perfect for a collector because I mean, look at this art, yo. Look at this art, yo. Look at this art. There's Machindo Kumba again. You know what I mean? Look at this art, fam. Now, you go into the first story. It's a collaboration with Uraeus, who's the creator of a character named Jason Wise. I'm looking actually for more content on Jason Wise. What I know about him is he's kind of an adventurer, and I think he's immortal. I think. I have to find out. I actually reached out to some people on social media trying to find out more about this character. And again, it's not from the 90s. It's more recent, but I want to know everybody who's creating everything in this black comic. So yeah, so we see this, and then he's patrolling the city. Car gets assaulted or whatever, and then we see here who's causing this major problem. It's this demon creature, and then Jason Wise is lighting them up. So we get this collaboration between Jason Wise and Purge, and so that's the one story, and then it leads into issue 0, issue 1, and I believe issue 2 in Purge. So yeah, so I would definitely tell you guys, the comic book collectors and stuff, definitely go to this book, buy everything he got in there. He got posters, he got the whole bit, and the way I see it, if you buy the content, then that gives them the incentive to create more, because this costs a lot of time and money. These books cost a lot of time and money, and so that's why when you got a 9 to 5, and then you're trying to do this, and then you're trying to take care of your family, that's a lot. They're not going to have the regular kind of schedule that Marvel has or somebody like that. So anyway, so without me going on a long rant, these are the books that I have. There's one more, which I'm looking on my comic book shelf of destiny. And I used to know it by the color of the cover. And bam, The Powers That Be. Now this is a super duper collaborative comic. Again, you can get it. Excuse me. You can get it on Indie Planet, or I believe you can go to the Powerverse. That's the Powerverse.com, and I believe you can get it. This is Purge. This is oh my gosh, I'm getting older. I can't remember everybody's names, but and as soon as I see it, it's gonna come to me. Oh gosh, what's the brother's name? I'm not embarrassed. I'm 52. Sometimes I forget. But anyway, so yeah, so the thing that was so groovy about this comic is different indie comic book creators kind of got together with Vince White, who's the captain over at the Powerverse, and he put all of these guys together in a story. And this is supposed to be another, part 1 of. I gotta see if there's any more come out. Part 1 of 5. This is the brother. That's Purge. That's Vegas Baby. I did a review on Vegas Baby back in the day. All of these great characters. And you can look at these are all the comic book characters that came together in this book. Yeah, Dreadlocks. That's that guy. Now it's annoying me. I got to find out the name of this because it's going to make me annoyed if I don't. Power. Something Power. This is hilarious. Okay, let me just put it here in post-production. But anyway, this is what happens when you get older. But yeah, so long story short, another collaborative effort. So what I'm saying is, if we support all of these cats, then we get more of the content. Because the stuff you see in here, you're not going to see in Marvel and DC. You're just not. You're just not. There was one line in here. So basically, these guys are attacking. They're going into this white supremacist facility doing an investigation, trying to figure out why these black people are disappearing. And these guys are not giving them the answers that they want. So they handle business. They handle business kind of a thing. You're not going to see this in Marvel and DC. You know, you might see some hand wringing. You know, I think there was one issue when Superman was like, you know, I don't want to be American anymore. I'm going to renounce my citizenship. That's hand wringing. You ain't doing shit about it. You ain't doing shit about it. That's a different story. These guys want to do something about it. So anyway, so you can pick up this book, and I bought it from Amira. That's what I'm telling you. This book, and notice signed. I love books signed. I get annoyed when I order a book that's signed and it don't come signed, which doesn't happen too often, but every now and then it did. It happened the other day. So I love signed books. So anyway, so yeah, you can get this from Amara. All right. So I love you guys. If you guys are into, you know, adventure, superhero comics, this is definitely the book for you. Purge has great writing, you know, great storytelling, and the art is very impressive. And then for the old heads who either want the old books or want to show your kids what comics used to look like back in the day, then this is the book that you need to get. I mean, come on, fam. Look at this. Isn't this cool? All right. Johnathan Soul, JohnathanSoul.com, where you can see interviews and comic book reviews with the comic book creators. And I do a podcast called Nonfiction where I talk about current events. Also, you can go to Amazon and you can pick up my sci-fi novel, Malcolm Mars. Malcolm like the prophet, Mars like the planet. Malcolm Mars is 3 brothers who are engineers. They built a starship and they took their families to Mars to build a whole new scene. All right. Love you guys. Peace.